Alright, so keyguards with raised tabs are intended for use with cases like these, where especially this inner shell here, which includes a screen protector, are rigid, and there's no gap underneath the edge here to insert a tab attached to a keyguard. So we have to have a different solution in a case like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this sort of keyguard on it. It has tabs, but the tabs rise up above the edge of the keyguard, and they're going to rest on the edge of the case. So we have to get some measurements, and this is for a much larger tablet, but we have to get some measurements that tell us the standard things about how large an opening we have here from side to side, from top to bottom, and it's often much tighter with this design than with the purely soft cases. So we need the standard measurement for a case. We'll look at doing that. And we also will need to know how much the edge of the case rises above the surface of the screen. So we'll be looking at how tall we need to make the gap between the bottom of the keyguard and the bottom of this raised tab. And finally, we'll be looking at the distance that the tab has to reach out in order to hit this flat surface, though you can likely use even the sloped surface as part of the attachment for the keyguard. All right, so let's go ahead and do some measurements of our keyguard opening, and I'll use this guy. First thing is we want to hold it in a landscape or lengthwise manner here, because that will determine what length or width and height mean when we're providing the measurements to the software. So all we're going to do is take an internal measurement here from one side to the other, and this is fairly rigid, so we don't have to worry, but we're looking at approximately 160 millimeters for width. Because it's a rigid case, we should always err on the side of a little small rather than a little large, because we want our keyguard to sit flat against the surface. So 160 millimeters by, about 120, 121 millimeters. Again, we should err on the side of a little smaller. Unfortunately, because the keyguard comes so close to the edge of the screen, we want to make sure we have a little bit of plastic to go around the edge of the keyguard. And lastly, we have to determine how high it is from the surface to the edge of the case. And an easy way to do that is to place some rigid, straight thing like this metal ruler on the surface of the case, and then take this and take your measuring device, put it down on the screen, and measure. You can measure to the underside of this metal ruler, or if you know how thick the ruler is, you can measure it to the top. The one thing we want to make sure of is that whatever this measurement is, and we'll get a close-up of this, but whatever this measurement is, that we provide additional space between the surface of the tablet and the underside of the tabs to insert two pieces of Velcro, the hook and the loop of the Velcro. And those two items tend to be about 4 millimeters in depth when they're stuck together. So we're going to add about an additional 4 millimeters of height to whatever we measure here as the underside of this ruler. All right, so let's go off and do those measurements and then create our keyguard. One final thing to say is, if you have a standard case like this, you can still use the raised tabs. If you find that it's really too difficult to get the slide-in tab style key guard to go in and come out with the frequency and easiness that you're looking for, you can mount raised tabs on this kind of surface as well. You're just going to do all the same measurements. It's just that your opening may be a little larger than on the previous case. You're going to still place your rigid flat item on top and do a height measurement. And you're also going to, I hope I even said this, maybe I didn't say it. You're going to also want to take a look at the distance from the edge of your key guard, which will now be up against this surface, to the edge of the case, where probably the flat part of the case. So looking in this case, it's something around 14, I think, 14 millimeters. And in this case of this guy, is a little longer. His flat edge ends about there. If we look closely, he may be about 25 millimeters, maybe 25 millimeters from the edge of the screen to the edge of the flat region of the case.